You found yourself on another episode of Locked on Bulls. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the Bulls going 2-0 over the week, an injury to Alex Caruso, and what we think, or who do we think is going to step up in his absence. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are Locked on Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked on Bulls. Remember the Locked on Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Promo code Locked On. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. Pat, Bulls went 2-0 over the last week. We've won 4 out of our last 5 games, and we're on a 6-6 out of our last 10. Pat, dare we say the Chicago Bulls?
Don't you dare.
All right, I'm going to shut up.
Good couple of games, Bulls. Don't you dare. Get these listeners' hopes up on another episode.
Don't do it.
Don't you dare.
Don't do that. Don't do what? Get my hopes up. Shout out to Hawkeye.
Hopes up. Shout out to Hawkeye out here, man. No, I mean, listen, I love the way that the Bulls have played over the last couple of games, right? Tough loss in there. A couple of tough losses, right? Game winners that really kind of sunk our hearts, right? But that's what happens when you allow game winners to happen. I think also the fact that in one of those game winners, I believe we did lead by 16 or more points and ended up losing that game. Mm-hmm. But, listen, I can't deny what I'm seeing on the court. And what I'm seeing on the court is a Chicago Bulls team that is playing with more intensity, more situational defense, more heart since one Patrick Beverley has arrived on the team. And it's so weird. Listen, I understand, right? Like, well, let's all say this again. It's weird. It's weird that Patrick Beverley has given us this much of an impact, right? But I think that we leave every game feeling like he gave everything he could, and that's the one player that we didn't have on this team that could, right? I love the quote he gave out after the win versus the Miami Heat. He said, "I've got a coach who believes in me and understands what I bring to the game of basketball. I'm fortunate to play under a coach like Billy Donovan. Got a coach like that believes in you. You don't want to let him down." That's Pat Bev after the game versus Miami. I mean, listen, I don't know what it is with Billy Donovan and these like underdog point guards, but he does get them to buy into a system. Now you got to give him a point guard for him to be able to do that, but he does get them to buy into a system at a minimum, man. I mean, don't you feel like Bev has really not all on him, right? But just like kind of forcing people back into position has really been a turning point for this team over these last couple of games, at least.
Yeah, I think what Pat Bev does is he brings energy, he brings leadership, he brings being that vocal leader. Those are all things that this Bulls team needed drastically. And then when you add into that he does believe in Billy Donovan's system and he actually runs it, yeah, it helps that as well. The way that I look at it is this: us as Bulls fans, we were the child that Billy Donovan abused, right? As Bulls fans. And then, like sometimes your friends will come over and be like, "Oh, your mom's amazing. Little do y'all know when y'all not here, she's beating me." That's what it feels like.
That's a serious example there, dog. Like, I don't know.
No, dead serious, bro. Like, no, because it's like, and think about this. And the reason why I say that, remember how not right before, but you remember the rumors of tension between Billy Donovan and Zach LaVine?
We
notice
do.
How that's gone away?
Yeah.
Since Pat Bev has been here?
Yeah.
So
winning solves a lot. It's like you said, 6 wins out of the last 7 games, right? I mean, like, that changes a lot in your locker room. That changes the vibe in your locker room. And I think, right, these last couple of wins were wins that were unexpected of the Chicago Bulls, right? We've blown 20-point leads, I believe 6 times in this season alone. 20-point leads 6 times in this season alone. And yeah, Minnesota fought their way back in. Did we feel like that was a Minnesota team that lost Ant, didn't have Cat, only had Gobert that we should have been able to beat? Yeah, I do feel that way. But you know what? We haven't been able to beat those teams. So I thought that was a big win coming out of the double overtime with that. And Vooch killed him, man. Like, have we checked on him? Has his family written? Alexander Walker has died. Like, he's like, it's over. Like, if he plays on the court again, it'll be a shock. And then on top of that, right, like, The Miami win off a back-to-back. We went to that game, right? We planned to literally go sit, be courtside on the court, close as we can to the players, sitting there. Literally, you can hear me screaming at the beginning of the game. That's how close we were to the players. And we fully went into that expecting we're going to lose. It's the second of a back-to-back. We played 6 quarters in total in the game before. These guys are going to be dead. They're going to come out flat. They're not going to come out with energy. And that's not the team that we saw hit the floor.
I think it's important too that like with the way that the Miami Heat won that third quarter, right, handedly.
Yeah,
I don't even some games where the Bulls didn't have a back-to-back. We would see the Bulls get down on themselves. The energy would change, shift. Much less coming out of that being the second game of a back-to-back after double OT on top of that.
Yeah.
And so this team is starting to learn how to face adversity better than what they had at any point in the season. And so when you're doing that and hitting that at this point in the season, like, does it change some things? Yeah, it does. And, you know, I've said this. I've said this over on Central as well. Like, I still have my concerns about the Bulls playing hopes. I still have my concern about having any chance to even make it out the first round. And that doesn't really change by this. But I tell you what, my faith my in this team has been restored a little bit because it's like, all right, listen, yeah, this season sucked. And should we have been getting this all season? Yes, that's what we deserve. But if you can finish the season off strong like this, if you can finish the season off just playing with more heart and just a level of determination to where you're just outworking teams, you feel a little bit better going into next season. Like, we still need to do some changes and make some things to make this team better to where we're not going through a frustrating season like we had this season. But at least overall, you're looking at it and saying, hey, you know, Pat Bev, especially with what's going on with Lonzo Ball, like, yeah, let's bring Pat Bev back. And we still need to make other acquisitions, but let's see what it looks like going into the season with that type of energy, going into the season with that identity, right? Me and you talked about it. First practice, first training camp, we had the clip Billy Donovan saying, right now we need to build an identity before the season. And we didn't get that identity until after the All-Star break when we got Pat Bev. But like, to have an identity and to not have to try to use your training camp to build an identity that didn't work, you know, it makes you at least interested in what this next season is going to look like for the Bulls.
Let me ask you this, right? And this is of course, right, this is far past what anything that's going to happen in the season. Like, I think we all believe, right, Bulls may have a shot to make the play in. Maybe they get a higher seed in the play in. I don't know about all that, right? But like, at a minimum, we're heading towards an offseason that doesn't end in championship 7. We've talked about on this show moving on from DeMar DeRozan. He's the piece that you have to move on from. He's the piece that doesn't fit, that makes your team a 2005 style of offense. We have said that less in this time with Pat Bev. We still said it. There's still been those moments, but we've said that less in these times with Pat Bev, and it almost seems like Billy Donovan has gotten a handle. And the one thing I noticed is when the Bulls got in a scoring drought in that third quarter versus Miami, me and you both said, this is when you need DeMar. This is why DeMar DeRozan's on your team. Should we be shifting our focus from DeMar needs to do more, Zach needs to do more, they got to figure this out, to, hey, AK, how about you give us a team that fits the star players we have on this team already?
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, even then I've said that, like, there's you can make this version of the team work, well, a version of it, because you still need to make some extreme changes. You got to get creative, and I don't know if you can do that without doing something with the Lonzo Ball contract. But I mean, and let's do this. Like, DeMar's also facilitating more, 10 assists last night, right? He's facilitating more overall. He's taking more threes. He's hitting the threes at a decent rate. Like, so with all those things, if having a point guard out there is going to get that, and then you can make some adjustments to get more size, shot blocking, and shooting off the bench, there's a route in which AK can try to convince us on mostly keeping this team together with some key acquisitions, but they got to make the right ones if that's what they're going to do. They have to bring in not only just good pieces, but the right pieces to fit in on this team.
I'm going to let you do your ad read, but I think that a key piece that we're going to talk about next might be the first domino that needs to go.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to talk about that coming up next. But before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about one of our partners, and that is Prize Picks. How does Prize Pick work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they're going to score more or less than the Prize Pick projections, You can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. It's just that easy. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball. Both tournaments have been fired, by the way. Soccer, WNBA, esports.
Crazy right now.
Bro, it's wild. And more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational in only in over 30 states and Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. All right, Pat. So you already alluded to this piece may be the first one to go, which we hadn't talked about before. So I'm surprised to hear you say that. We'll have that conversation here. During the game against Miami, Alex Caruso went down. He's right now listed as questionable, right along with Javonte Green, who was upgraded as well yesterday. We'll see what that means for them and their availability Monday. But Alex Caruso went down, foot injury, I believe it was. How you feeling about this injury and who needs to step up if Caruso can't play come today?
I think this is the opportunity you give the young fella. You've given Dalen Terry spot starts since he's had his real opportunities.
Starts? Where's Dalen Terry?
Not starts, right? Like spot moments, right? Like Dalen Terry's had a couple of games where he played big minutes for us.
That's true.
And he played really well in both of those games. You put him in a couple of moments, basically. Like you put him in a moment. He didn't play at all against Miami. He played for like literally, I want to say 6 minutes maybe against Minnesota. Knocked down 1-3. Did get cooked on a backdoor screen. I ain't gonna lie to you. He got cooked on the backdoor. Hey, why fix that, Dalen? But I think that this is a moment that you turn to the young fella that at a minimum, right? In the moments you've seen him on the court, we've talked about more good with him than bad. And it hasn't been like that kind of, I'm trying to like shape this narrative for me to feel good about it looking good. It's been actual like, wow, Dalen Terry actually looks pretty good. Like that was a really nice pass. That was a really nice attack to the bucket.
I like his reads too. Outside of that,
Yeah, no. So I think that he's the guy to me that needs to step up, unless Javonte's healthy, right? Like I guess Javonte will get out there, but I mean, we're coming up to what? We got 13 games left in the season.
Yeah.
I want to see as much of Dalen Terry as I can see going into next year.
Okay. Listen, I wish
it's gonna be DJJ, but I want Dalen Terry. You know what I mean?
I was just about to say any other coach I would say and think that, hey, there's a chance for us to play the rook. I don't believe in Billy Donovan, but I would love to see that. Like Dalen Terry's game, and like I don't know if you saw him cook down in the G League today as well. Like if Dalen Terry was down there cooking. We know that he has so much potential, and it's not like just this one thing, right? It's not like you're coming in and you're like, oh, well, the dude's a really good defender, and you know he maybe can shoot a little. It's like Dalen Terry has just a little bit of everything, and as he starts polishing off his game, and he starts picking like the things that are going to be what he does special, it's going to be fun to watch. And I can't wait to see him get out on the court more consistently for the Bulls, because I think we still, like, I know we haven't played him much, but I think we got a stud in Dalen Terry. And I can't wait for us to be able to see it more consistently and us to be like, hey, man, we got this guy. What did we pick? It was like 18th or something like that?
18th pick in the draft.
So I just can't wait to see it. But I don't know if it's going to be Dalen. You said DJJ. I like that. But I look at this. I'm looking at Patrick Williams. Again, you got pulled out of the starting lineup to start Caruso. You started that second half against Miami. You gave some solid defensive minutes. But I'm looking at Pat and saying, hey, if Caruso is going to be sitting down, this is, again, for your chance to remind everybody, oh, this should be my position. Mm-hmm. So I need to see him step up. And again, by that, I don't mean score a bunch, because that's not even Caruso's role in this team. I want to see Patrick Williams give the energy plays, take the open shots that he gets, and play the great defense that we've seen him show signs of over the course of his career. That's what I want to see from Pat Williams in this time.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think that, right, like, first off, if you've never taken the opportunity to see why they believe in Patrick Williams, y'all need to go watch him up close. He's a man-child. like, bro, I was sitting there looking at P. Will, and I was like, bro, like, he is a monster human being standing across from whoever you put him next to. He was standing next to Bam Adebayo, and I was like, Bam's not that much bigger. Like, I get kind of, right. Like, you got to show me the production, but I get kind of why they just had this belief in this dude having his breakout. And everybody's talking about this now on the team, right? Pat Bev has said, I see superstar talent from this guy. DeMar DeRozan has said, y'all know what the ceiling is for him. Even Kobe White has said, we think that he can be a superstar. Hey, Kobe, worry about yourself being a superstar out here, brother. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, I love to see you get to that level as well. But I think because you have the names like that on the team, Patrick Williams, Dalen Terry, possibly Javante, depending on if he's able to come back after the injury, stuff like that, right? Those young guys that you feel like can step up. Oh, Javante ain't that young. But those young guys that you feel like need more opportunity to step up. That's why I say, right, like, this Bulls team could see some major changes, and that change might not be from the big pieces on the team. I think your change might come from the role players that are a part of this team. And I think Alex Caruso could absolutely be the first piece to fall.
That's fair. Out of the role players on this team, right? Let's say that the Pat Bev signs, and maybe they even do go after, maybe they do get the Lonzo Ball exception or whatever they do.
Yeah, but go after somebody else.
They go after a starting level point guard, but still bring Pat Bev back as a reserve role at that point in time. What role players on this team do you want to see come back? Or do you think every role player at least has to be on the table, and then we'll see what we can fill in otherwise there?
I would bring back P. Will, and this is a logical thing, not a you have to do it. I just know that AK is going to bring back P. Will, right? We know no matter who else is gone, he's going to be back. I would bring back Io. I don't know if it would be a long-term thing. He might be able to go out there and get a better deal. I wouldn't feel like, oh my God, we lost Io. Okay. But I would like to bring him back to see if he's able to bounce back off of his sophomore slump. And that's it. I would rebuild, because here's the thing, right? With the team that you have, with the mindset that you have right now, your team says we have to go out there and we have to be one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You are. You're literally one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Situationally, we saw it yesterday. They were playing the passing lanes great. They were doing all of these things. And yet still, it felt like Miami could come back and beat us. You need to be a top defensive team, but it shouldn't be the complete identity of your team. I think you need to go out and you need to find shooters. You have to go out and find people that can space the floor out. You want to know why? Because that makes DeMar DeRozan useful again. What made DeMar DeRozan, at least over this winning stretch that has made DeMar DeRozan, right, his shooting percentages are up and different things like that from the three-point line. We talked about that as a topic as well. Is the fact that Pat Bev has been knocking down threes. Mm-hmm. The floor is spaced out again. That's what Lonzo provided. Lonzo was 40% from the floor.
Yeah.
So that's what Lonzo provided. Now, all of a sudden, I can't just sit in here and say, I'm in the paint. DeMar DeRozan, you do what you do. Even if I got a hand in your face, you're still probably going to knock this shot down. I have to be out here guarding the wings. I have to be out here guarding because I got Zach LaVine, I got Lonzo Ball, I got this guy, I got Kobe White, impossibly, and now I got Pat Will, who's basically a bucket out here from the three-point line, right? Like, I have to guard these guys out here. I got Vooch over here. He's knocking it, right? Like, that spaces everything out. That's how you make a DeMar DeRozan team work. This is my thought process on if you're going to make this current core work, which is a lot of people that are off of this current core. I'm not mad at you for that opinion as well. I think DeMar could possibly still get moved for a player. But if you're going to make this work, you got to have more shooters. And there's not many scorers that you're going to find in the NBA right now better than DeMar DeRozan. So you also have to weigh that part out as well. It's easy for us to say, get him out of here. But you don't want to get rid of good for worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, AK and Eversley got to get to work this offseason. They got to earn their money this offseason. That's really what it boils down to. Like, last year, you kicked the can down the road. You tried to sell us on continuity. Continuity did not sell us. It did not bring us anything back. So you gotta go out and look at what you can do. So AK and Eversley, you have to earn their money this offseason.
Yeah, man. Hey, I like what they did with the signing, man, because Nissan's most electric player of the week is brought to you by the new Nissan All-Electric 2023 Aria. Hey, Haize, I mean, can we go with anybody else?
No.
Can we go with anybody else outside of the man, Pat Bev? I guess Zach LaVine has been cooking a little bit. We might need to give him some healthy consideration. But Pat Bev has absolutely been cooking. He is my Nissan Aria player of the week. I mean, this guy came out able to knock down 14 straight points. 14 straight. Me and Haize was sitting there like, who is this dude? I told y'all, he keeps the leg in. He keeps the leg in. He's going to be able to knock down that 3-ball. Pat Bev, listen to me. I'm telling you right now. Hey, but we do want to tell you guys that he is our Nissan Aria player of the week. And just like the Nissan Aria, he brings that 2023 packs, pin you to your seat power and premium intelligence, all in one EV, the all-new Nissan Aria, all electric 2023 for people who love to drive. You can shop now at nissanusa.com. So make sure to tune in with that, man. Pat Bev been so electric out here, man. You gotta love what he's been doing out here. Also, got to tell you guys about Built Bar, man. Hey, listen, there are no brackets left. There's no brackets left except for the Built Bar March Madness bracket. We know you have your favorite bar or puff, and now's your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. You'll know I'll be voting for the churro puff, and if you wanted Purdue to win, you're done. To win, then you'll be voting for that bar too. Support your team, support your bar or puff, even if they were only the second number one to ever get knocked out by a 16 seed in history. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will win a free box of Built. Not only that, a fan will win a 12-month subscription to Built and have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. What makes Built Bar Puffs so good? Well, for starters, they're high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. Run to BuiltMarchMadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick. Hopefully it's the churro puff and not Purdue.
Tough. What is it? Only 2 number 1 seeds left in the tournament right now, by the way? Houston and Alabama, I think.
Yeah, Alabama. Hey, Alabama. Hey, dogs out here.
That's
you want to talk about some dog roll tide? You know what I mean? Like dogs
tough.
Out here.
That's tough. Before we go today, we got to talk about the Bulls' upcoming schedule. We start off tomorrow with our first of 2 games in a row against Philadelphia 76ers, where Joel Embiid is fully expected to be healthy. How you feeling about this, bro?
Not good. Not good, bro. Listen, the Bulls can't be coming in on any higher of a momentum. I think the one thing that I do like about the situation that we're in right now is that Pat Bev understands what the Bulls have been through with this, right? Like Pat Bev is somebody who is going to battle versus Joel Embiid, and he's somebody that probably has already had this circled the day he got signed. It's the only thing that gives me any confidence with where the Chicago Bulls are heading with, hey, we're going to be able to do this and make this work, and we're finally going to be able to beat Joel Embiid. Because I'll tell you what, we still can't do it. And I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of teams that can't. I don't feel that bad. Like, everybody's like, you've never beaten Joel Embiid in his career. And it's like, yeah, well, like, he's kind of one of the best players in the NBA.
Only MVP candidate.
On one of the best teams in the NBA. I don't feel as bad about the Joel Embiid thing. Also because half the time that everybody's counting, we were winning like 22 games a year.
Yeah.
So I'm not that, like, really, you can only count last year and this year. You would catch him on an off game once in a while, but
well, right now the Philadelphia 76ers are riding an 8-game winning streak. They've won 9 out of their last 10. So they're coming in with momentum. The Bulls have been the streak stoppers before. Can they do it again? And either one, can the Bulls split one of these games with the Philadelphia 76ers?
I do think they'll split. I don't know if we win the first one. I think the thing is, though, you're going to come in with such of a chip on your shoulder in this game. I don't think they get blown out neither. I think that the Bulls will be able to come out and compete in both games. I believe they competed in both games versus Philly this year. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that they'll be able to compete. I think that they will finally be able to break the Embiid curse as long as he plays in both games. But I do think that first game is probably going to be the one that we're looking at, and we're just like, dang it, I can't believe that this is happening again.
And the first game is in Philly as well. Earlier game, start time 6 p.m. Chicago time tomorrow. I don't know how to feel about this one, bro. I'm not even going to front on you, bro. I have no idea how to feel about this one.
Is Joel Embiid our Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, absolutely.
Dang.
Yes, absolutely. That's 100% factual.
Dang.
So here's the thing that I will say.
Sucks. It sucks, right?
For the Bulls to beat a team that has an MVP candidate, that is a more talented team than them. Let's just be clear here.
Yeah.
The Bulls are going to have to come in. They're going to have to play with that heart. And I think they're going to have to try to set the tone defensively early. And not to put everything on Vooch, but the way that Vooch attacked Nikola Jokic, he needs to attack Joel Embiid, at least to try to start out with. And if that doesn't work, which it probably won't, you got to try other things. But
see, I disagree with that because I feel like Jokic is more of a I'm going to pass this out to get my teammate the best shot possible type of player. And Embiid's a player that's like, I'm going to break through you and then I'm going to go to the bucket. And I think that affects Vooch more on the offensive end and on the offensive rebounding end. I would rather see Vooch. I'm not saying don't play defense on him, but I think I would rather see him like when he plays Jokic, his job is like, okay, get the ball out of Jokic's hand.
Well, I meant attack him offensively. Like Vooch. Offensively, yes, attack Embiid.
He's got to attack Embiid.
Defensively, Vooch isn't like, no, it's Vooch.
It's about to get ugly. You know what I mean? It's about to be a cook show. He's going to say, you played for Philly once, not anymore. The one thing that I'll ask you, right, is like, does it feel like kind of with this Philly team now, the hardest part is it almost feels like they finally found a role for Tobias Harris. Like the reason to me that Philly's been cooking lately, and when I watch their games, I'm like, hey, Tobias is involved. It's crazy that it took y'all this long to figure out to involve Tobias.
Well, I think when you look at, they've involved Tobias in stretches.
He's been more of a spot-up shooter on that team, though.
True, but you got to look
at
like
the worst element of his game.
The different versions of that team that they've had since Tobias. You had Jimmy, who's gonna absolutely be a ball dominant player. You then had Harden, who's become more of a facilitator this season while still figuring out a way to get his. Now, I do think that, having Joel Embiid, he's playing on pace to play the most games he's played in his career this season. So when you have him there more than what you had, it helps everybody settle into their roles a little bit better. And I think that's what we're seeing for sure.
I think the interesting thing for me, right, Tobias hasn't been, killing every night in and night out, but it's the fact that they've allowed him to kind of get the shots up. Tobias has only had 2 games where he hasn't taken over 10 shots. And that's been something where, like, literally, it's not that Tobias isn't a good player. It's just that, like, they kind of just be like, hey, exist on the court because we need 5 bodies and you're just better than the dudes we got on the bench. Like, that's really how it's felt to me. And I feel like, right, at least, like, looking at over his last 10, right, like, when I see him being able to actually put up shots, like he's a threat to knock down shots. He's a threat attacking the bucket. That's one threat that takes away. And I think that's going to be the Bulls' toughest cover outside of what Joel Embiid's going to be able to do, because you can't just sleep on like, oh, he's going to be trash. He's going to miss. Mm-hmm. Right? Like Tobias Harris can get to the bucket and make an impact. And DeMar DeRozan's probably going to be guarding him. Which DeMar's defense has been a lot better. A lot better. Like, I got to give him DeMar Darnell DeRozan has been DeMar Darnell DeRozan over these last couple of games.
We got to stop, bro. We got to stop talking about it, because I swear if it's all of a sudden changes and now we're looking at
Rosen.
Yeah, so let them keep cooking. Let's keep the good juju going. But yeah, I mean, there's been a change clearly in a lot of players on the Bulls, and DeMar for sure. And me and you both have said it. Like the best version of DeMar is when he's able to pick his spots, and you don't need him to be the ball dominant player. And the Bulls role players have been stepping up, especially in last game. We need to see them do more, and we need to see efficient Zach LaVine. This game against the Philadelphia 76ers, what the Bulls give defensively, how difficult do they get the turnovers? Can they find a way to try to keep the ball out of Embiid's hands as much as possible? Like, it's going to be an interesting night. It's going to be a long night. But I do think more so than what I would have said earlier in the season, I do think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a competitive game. So
this is where we get bit in the butt. We get our heads kicked in by
60.
Yeah.
And the Bulls are down by 32 in the halftime. And they're like, Pat, Haize, you told us this was going to be competitive. So
Now, I will say this, and I don't know how much this makes a difference, right? But PJ Tucker, I believe, is questionable Monday versus the Chicago Bulls as well. He's still dealing with that ankle injury. Bulls have a ton of people questionable at this point.
The team is questionable.
Caruso is questionable. I don't know if your site's doing this. I'm getting Justin Lewis is questionable. Like, is Justin Lewis is he like back?
I mean, he was out there. He was out there getting shots up.
I saw him getting shots up, but I didn't think he was like back out here.
He's not. I mean, he hasn't even played He's a two-way player.
You know what I mean? Like,
we're gonna see him. We're gonna see him in the Windy City Bulls before. Like they just be listing anything.
Hey, bro, I was thrown off by that. And then Javonte Green is questionable as well. I think the interesting thing is, right, like we talked about the defense. How do you match up here? Zach LaVine on Harden. Like, where do you throw Pat Bev? Pat Bev on Maxey, I don't feel good about that. And Maxey's going to get a good chunk of those minutes. DeMar on Tobias, Vuce, of course, on Embiid, Zach on Harden? Or do you throw Pat Bev at Harden and say, we'll live with the height difference because of the intensity?
I think Harden can get in Harden's head. Wait, what did I say? Pat Bev can get in Harden's head. Did I say Harden get in Harden's head? Is that what I said? I don't know what there you go. Yeah, it is what it is. But I think Pat Bev can definitely make things difficult for Harden. I think eventually though, if Harden realizes, hey, he's too small. All right, it can start getting interesting. But we know Harden.
Tank.
Yeah,
I think that's the part a lot of people forget. He's a tank. Like when Harden be like, I'm gonna go to the bucket. Like must just be like, all right, I guess he going to the bucket. Oh man, hey man. Hopefully the Bulls get a dub tomorrow, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. We got an uphill battle. We are 33-37. They are 42-22. So they have not lost nearly as much as we have this season. Where we at in the standings right now? Where we sitting at?
10th. And we have a 1.5 game advantage over the next team below us, I believe is where we are.
So we got important wins. These are very important wins. You definitely can't lose both of them. But hey, man, let us know how you guys feel in the comments below. Leave a 5-star review on the pod. I've noticed one thing. Usually we only get 5-star reviews if it's like mad hate. I've noticed that kind of across Locked On. Like I'll look through like some of the comments on Locked On and Muzz just be like frying Muzz. I think they also scared to leave bad comments because they know that we fry back. This is the only channel on the Locked On network that does also fry back with the commenters. But you can follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for showing love.
You can follow me at CEO Haize, the CEO Haize. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen today. Now for your second listen, go and check out Game to Game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result, Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls. We out this mug. Peace, y'all.
Peace. In the women's NCAA tourney, number 8 Ole Miss just eliminated number 1 Stanford. Wild.